Oh, hello there. This is Steve from Vespa Motorsport, also known as Scooter West. We've got a Vespa S up on the lift. We're going to be talking about installing an HID kit. Before we get too much further, we'll take a couple minutes to talk about the HID kits that we used to offer at Scooter West. That was probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago now. It was a kit that we kind of developed. It was a dual filament kit. There was a lot of problems with that kit for a number of reasons. Partially because the dual filament aspect, partially because HID technology has come a long ways. So we're finally at a point now where we can kind of sell with good confidence a simple single filament HID kit that is a very quick, simple, easy thing to install. Another thing in HID kits is technically they're for off-road use only. We use that term pretty loosely. You know, you see more and more modern cars, modern motorcycles, any number of vehicles out there on the roads using HID kits. So kind of use at your own risk. You might want to check with your local authorities. You know, what we kind of say is, hey, jaywalking is illegal, but people do it all the time. Who really cares about a simple headlight? But so we'll show you the components. This is the nice compact ballast. It's a simple, easy installation. We send these out with the wires already kind of modified, so all you have to do is cut a couple wires in your original harness at your original headlight connection and crimp a couple wires on. So it comes also with this simple connector. And then of course here's the money maker with the HIDs, here's the single filament bulb. The other thing too, when people kind of whine about not having a dual filament one, they get significantly harder to install. And you also run out of room because this ballast gets so much larger and the bulb gets so much larger that in the Vespa headsets there quite simply is not enough room to install everything. While we're going to be in the headset, we're going to talk about replacing and pimping out our good friend Vutran's dash display. We just ordered up these mini LED bulbs. The part number on these is 12V74BL-LED. The BL is for blue. We've got these in hyper white as well as a red. Most of the Vespa S dashes take, I don't know, 5 to 6 bulbs. We'll know better once we get in there. And then the final thing is another unique exclusive to Scooter West. This is actually the headlight bezel. You notice it's actually got the visor. The normal bezel is just this thin strip here, but I don't know, probably within less than a month ago, a chrome version of this headlight bezel with the visor came out, and we've sent these off to our painter and had them painted in a nice glossy black to give people the option of blacking out their bike. Since there's so many of the satin black color S's, we've done a lot to really develop a lot of the glossy black painted cosmetic trim parts and stuff. So of course we're going to pull everybody's favorite robot in. He'll go step by step and show you how to install the HID kit, the headlight bezel, and the super trick mini LED bulbs in the dash on a Vespa S. Here we go.
Oh, the sugar shot.
Boom! We're going to start taking Vutran's bike apart. We're going to pop off some of these covers right here. We're going to pop off this headlight. Real simple. We got a screw down here. It's a machine screw that threads into a captive nut. So it's kind of a funky screw. It goes in. Feels like it's not really coming out, but be careful. Don't push it in, otherwise you'll push the captive nut into the frame. Pry the badge off from this side. Pop it off. One screw there. This lifts up and pulls away. It's got 4 tabs. Unfortunately, Dr. Vutran was not being a very good doctor when he pulled it off. He broke 3 of the 4 tabs. But, you know, I've done it so many times that I don't break the tabs, so I'm pretty good at this. Next, we got one screw here. The little silver screw right here, you don't want to touch that. That's the headlight height adjustment. 2 screws here, and the 2 screws back here are different types of threads than this, so keep track of what you're pulling out and where they go. And you pull the plastic away right here, kind of pull, you know, towards the end of the grip, and it will separate the headlight front cover. And this little connector right here, it's got a little tab on this end. You push that little tab, and it will separate the connector right here. Right, now that you have the front of the headlight cover off, we need to remove the headlight. 4 screws that retain the headlight. The headlight will kind of pull right out. There's this rubber trim on the headlight that kind of hangs up with the bosses, but it will pull right by. Remove the bezel. you got 4 tabs that retain the bezel. And if you're struggling with it, you don't want to break the tabs, you can lift on the tabs and just separate the tabs and pull the bezel away. You can see there's the four tabs and the old bezel that's been painted.
And we're just removing that bezel so we can put the new bezel
Yeah,
on,
exactly.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Normally you wouldn't actually have to do that unless
Yeah.
you're gonna go so far as to replace the bezel.
All right, we have the new bezel with visor. We're gonna go ahead and snap it on. I kind of start from the bottom and we'll kind of work top up. Make sure you hear it click into place. Check all your tabs. And you can see they're all snapped in, no gap all the way around, so that's in there, good to go. Drop the headlight back in, line up the holes, install the 4 screws. Got the headlight harness out, basically 3 connections at the existing halogen bulb. Then you pull the position light right out of the socket right here. Pull the rubber boot off. Remove the bulb, there's this metal clip in here and 2 tangs. You push them towards the middle to release them and kind of pull it out of the way and you'll be able to extract the bulb. We've replaced this bulb here with a 12V194 LED. And it's a nice addition to the HID, kind of that hyper white, kind of cool white look to it. With these bulbs, you need to check the polarity. Have the harness out, you can plug it right in to the existing headlight connection just to test it. And if it doesn't illuminate, you want to flip the bulb around, correct the polarity on it. We're going to go ahead and install the HID bulb. It's got this metal shield here. Sometimes you're going to need to squeeze the shield. Take care not to touch the quartz glass capsule. The bulb's got 3 tangs. This larger tang points up. And lift the wire out of the way, drop it right in. And the clips are going to be a little more difficult to snap in. Snap the 2 clips in, and that's what retains the bulb. The rubber boot, you can put that back on if you like. You're going to need to take a razor blade and cut the center out here. And you'll be able to pass the 2 wires right through that.
So those 2 wires are permanently attached to the bulb in this instance, is that correct, Robot?
Correct, yep. And you can see there are two quick connects that attach to the HID ballast. And boom, it's done. There's the bulb. See the capsule in there. All right, we need to make a modification to the original headlight harness. You don't need the terminals that are on there, so we'll go ahead and cut all 3 of them off right at the terminals there. 2 black wires. I'm going to strip about 3/8 of an inch. 8 millimeters or whatever it is, 9 millimeters. Twist them together. And then the violet wire, we're going to want to do the same thing. And the harness that goes to the HID ballast already has crimps installed on there. Red wire is going to go to the violet wire. Go ahead and crimp that.
And again, we're not using the brown wire in this case because it's just a single filament bulb.
The brown wire is the low beam, and basically if you have the switch selected at low beam, the headlight will be off.
Which is a kind of cool feature, another feature that might not be completely legal. We use that term loosely. Everywhere else in the world, it's set up so you can turn the headlight off and on. So with the HID kit single ballast one, it's kind of nice to be able to have that feature. A lot of our personal bikes at Vespa Motorsport, we take advantage of that fully.
And the last wire, you want to put some sort of electrical tape or heat shrink tubing over it. You can see the exposed conductor. You don't want that touching anything metal in the headlight area.
But that is the extent of the special modifications really to the bike in order to put this whole headlight in, correct?
Correct. In order to easily install the mini ballast under here and install the LED lights for the backlight of the speedometer, you need to take a couple steps to remove the speedometer. On the S, there's 3 stainless steel fasteners that retain the bezel and the speedometer, T25. remove those 3 fasteners. Bezel comes off, and
You notice in order to disconnect the speedometer cable, it's got these 2 little tabs. Pinch in on that, pull the cable down, and that will release the cable and the housing from the speedometer.
2 electrical connectors. This one has a tab back here. You pull the tab, pull the connector away. Same with this one, it's got the tab in the front.
So both those connectors, you notice you're pulling straight down on the connectors in order to release them. So straight down on both of those, and then straight up with the speedometer, and out it comes. And now we've got good access to our little mini bulbs. We've got the 3 bulbs here. Notice we've actually plugged the power back into the speedometer. That's just in order to energize it. So once we replace the bulbs, we can kind of check everything out. The bulbs that we're going to be replaced, we've identified with the black X. So it's the bulb here in the center, the upper left, the upper right. Another opportune thing to point out here is the actual clock battery located behind this little clear plastic puck. With your fingernail or a flathead screwdriver, you can pull that plastic cover out. And we sell a ton of the batteries. 494521-BAT is the part number.
And to remove the bulbs, you need to grab them with a needle nose and turn them counterclockwise about 1/8 to 1/4 turn, and they'll pull away. Make sure the PC board does not rip away with the bulb, and you want to repeat that with the other 2.
These can be a little tricky to pull out sometimes. So with a pair of needle nose pliers, in this case we're using wire strippers, pinch the bulb gently, not so hard as to crush it, jiggle it back and forth, pull it straight out. Now you're ready to put the LED bulb in that new bulb in that original bulb socket.
The LED bulb has 2 little wire contacts. Make sure they're parallel with the grooves in the base. And you can see the slots where it drops right in. Go ahead and push it in, much like the incandescent bulb.
And now we're at the point where we've actually repowered the ignition so the speedometer lights up. We've already done the other 2, so we're going to be able to put that in and make sure it lights up.
A bayonet base, so there's the tangs drop into the 2 holes, and you give it a twist, and you get a 50-50 chance that's going to work. Didn't work that time, so I'll flip it around 180. And try it again. There we go. Now it's lighting up. You can actually see that light illuminate through the clock battery access hole.
And here's the big reveal in full light. You already get to feel the effects of the blue LED. So we were illuminating the dash blue, the fuel gauge blue, and down in the clock blue.
We're going to go ahead and install the HID ballast. First of all, you want to have the speedometer out, which we covered in a previous step. Perfect opportunity to upgrade the backlighting in your speedometer with LED lights of either blue, red, or the super white. Without the speedometer in here, install these 2 zip ties, about 12-inch long zip ties. Start from the right on this side of the mount and crisscross it to the left side here, and vice versa with the other zip tie. So they're kind of laid out in a crisscross pattern here.
So now we're going to go ahead and take our ultra compact high impact discharge ballast. This thing measures like 2 by 2.5 inches. Pretty small, nice modern day ballast. This thing just nests right here on top of the steering column. Kind of guide it into place. Once it's kind of sitting there, it's not going to fall anywhere. And we're going to go ahead and take those zip ties, like Robot said, and kind of crisscross them and go ahead and install everything, securing the ballast.
We got the 2 zip ties attached in the crisscross pattern over top of the HID ballast, and you can kind of see them nesting each other there. Taking care not to pinch the wiring. Go ahead and secure them.
And this thing really does almost kind of self-center directly on top of the steering column bolt. And you can't see it in the sake of the video, but there's an alignment tab on the back of the headset. The way it crisscrosses, it really kind of locks in place there. So sometimes people will kind of criticize zip ties. Hey, they're used industry-wide, and they actually do make for a great fastener for this kind of specialty application. And I will tell you, it's like this is probably the most difficult thing. It's kind of sticking both your fingers in there and shoehorning those zip ties over to get them started.
The ballast is in there securely, won't go anywhere.
We're ready to proceed with reinstalling the speedometer and then reinstalling the actual headlight and having some fun with it.
We'll drop the speedometer back in. Get the cable hooked up. 2 connectors. Bezel goes back on. And then the 3 screws here.
Robot's a professional. I'm much less professional. Got it. Got mine.
And basically we got the speedometer in, boom, it's done.
Okay, so in my left hand here, we've got the 2 wires that come off the ballast. They're a prefab connector that goes directly into this pigtail wire. This wire, which is the original one to the bike, plugs back into that original 4-prong connector. That's power, from the harness, from the switch out to the headlight. So Robot's got that reattached.
This, you can see the red lines up with the plus sign on the connector, and the tab will snap and catch right there. Now it's locked. You kind of got a little excess slack because this HID kit works on some other models here. So go ahead and bundle that up.
Take the zip tie, I'll help Robot hold it a little bit.
Go around the brake line. Don't want to tighten too much around the brake line.
So yeah, we're going to use the hydraulic hose as kind of our anchoring point. And all we're doing is putting this loosely on there to keep this from flopping around inside the headset.
That's about as tight as you want to have it.
And then these 2 wires, I believe, are going to go to the actual headlight bulb. Again, these are prefab factory style connectors, so this will plug directly into the supply lines that come off the HID. Here we go. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Maybe I'll hold this down.
Again, there's a tab that locks it, and black to black. Tab that locks it. And the last one's a little shorter, which is the position light. Go ahead and pop that in. And you'll have a little bit of slack up here. You can just tuck that in.
Probably before you go ahead and fully seat everything, you kind of would recommend checking everything at this point.
Yeah, check the operation.
So we've got the ignition on to verify that that light's on.
Turn the high beam on. And the HID. A moment to warm up. You see it's pretty bright.
And yeah, from this point, we're basically just going to go ahead and reinstall the screws, put the mirrors back on, go outside, have a nice little test ride, especially in the darkness of the night. Really appreciate the intensity of that single filament, super compact HID headlight kit.
And one thing to keep in mind before you put the horn cover on and you have this all buttoned up, this silver adjustment screw right here with the flat bladed screwdriver, you can adjust the height of the actual beam. So again, you want to have something sitting on the bike. You don't want to have the bike on the stand, and go ahead and adjust the screw higher or lower, based on your preference.
And what Robot's saying is essentially you want to, with the whole headset like reassembled, you want to actually fine tune the aim of the headlight before you install the horn cover. That's what he's saying. Once the horn cover is installed, it's pretty tricky to get to that screw. So we'll get everything reassembled like we said, take a little test ride, decide which way it needs to go, and then adjust the headlight. All right, it's late, it's the wee hours of the morning, but we got the HID kit installed on our friend Vu's bike. And for comparison's sakes, we've got a regular headlight installed on just a regular S. So look at the difference in intensity and brightness. And then Vu, go ahead and walk forward because we'll show the difference in the actual instrument clusters too. Remember we did the blue LEDs on that dash. Again, Vu's bike there on the left. And then we've got the regular stock incandescent ones on the bike on the right. Vu's bike's got a bunch of performance stuff. Let's fire them up, Robot, and take off.